This is Seaview Playwrights Theater, a little chapel nestled in the innermost corners of Staten Island, New York. You'd never find it unless you were actively looking for it, and even then, it's pretty easy to miss. It opened over 40 years ago in 1979, and since then has provided community theater shows to the good patrons of the island. For what looks like a tiny theater, it's actually kind of crazy the level of shows that have been put up here. Sweeney Todd, Spring Awakening, Lend Me a Tenor, A View from the Bridge, All My Sons, Othello, Tommy, Suddenly Last Summer, The Elephant Man. Those were all just off the top of my head. They've done everything. The theater can be described as quaint. It's a theater just barely in the round, where the audience surrounds the stage. And that's not a stylistic choice. Frankly, I don't think they even had a choice in that manner. It's the only way you can put on a show in there. It's tiny, very intimate, actors get uncomfortably close to the audience. But that's what adds to the charm, that it's not perfect. There's just one small issue with the theater. It's filthy. It rarely gets cleaned. There's mold, bugs, spider webs everywhere, sprickets. I don't know if I can legally classify it as a building. It's more like a box sitting in the middle of grass. Oh, what's that? You don't know what a spricket is? This is a spricket. It's a combination of a spider and a cricket. It's a very real thing, and they seem to only live and reproduce at Seaview. The theater doesn't exactly have the best working conditions. The cheap AC units and heaters haven't been cleaned in decades, so you're effectively breathing in 20-year-old shit. Because of this, actors on Staten Island have a love-hate relationship with the theater. So I decided to interview the talent that has performed there, but I didn't tell them why I was talking to them. Also, I can get their raw, snap reaction to this question. How do you feel about Seaview Playwrights Theater?
How do I feel about Seaview Playwrights Theater? Seaview is like home away from home, but it needs work.
It is a Staten Island staple. It's kind of been like this heart of the theater, of the community for a long time. Having said that, virtually everything about it is terrible.
It's my favorite space to work on Staten Island, but it's very, very frustrating at the same time.
Well, I'm very, very fond of it.
How do I feel about Seaview Playwrights Theater? I love Seaview Playwrights Theater.
I think it's a great place. I think the seating is horrible.
I love Seaview Playwrights Theater. It's my home.
What I found is that most people actually hold a very personal love towards it.
At first I looked at it, I'm like, wow, this is the theater. It's church pew. It's got these crazy seats. Like, are they going to do a show here? And then we opened, and it was emotional. I mean, it just that the theater really is like another character. It's unreal.
This whole place changed my whole life.
It's probably the first place that I ever felt like I belonged anywhere.
You gotta love what you do to work there, because you're not pampered.
I love it. It's this cute little haunted theater, and it's so fun. It feels like a storybook every time I go in there.
I know it's stinky and cold in there sometimes, but it's like, I don't know, it's my theater home.
I think the building is adorable and great.
I love the place. When I come in here, I feel like I'm entering among ghosts in the most positive way.
Well, the state of Seaview is not good.
You go in and it smells bad. Somebody immediately tells you that there's a fucking ghost. They're like, this place is haunted and she's gonna get you. And I'm pretty sure it is too. Like, I've been there and it's like I've just like felt the room spinning, but it could just be the chemicals.
It's a benevolent ghost because nobody that we know of has died in there. A few performances that died in there, but no people have died in there.
You are breathing in very, very harmful things that will kill you and fucking break you.
It hurts me that no one has really took the time to fix it, to clean it up, to make it safe.
Part of its charm is that it's a little rough and tumble.
Whether I was bringing my own water to make coffee, because you don't want to drink the water there.
In 42, 43 years, it doesn't seem to have changed all that much. I understand the wisdom of that, but at the same time, it can be very frustrating, you know, as we sit here freezing our butts off right now.
It is a terrible, terrible place to work. So it's an actor's dream, right? Because it's like, I'm gonna get this performance out, in spite of the fact that there's a really good chance that like a cat's gonna fall out of the ceiling at any minute and just like claw my head off, you know?
There's paper on the windows over there. It's because the building, I don't know, 100 and something years old maybe.
Everyone that I talked to had a favorite personal story or anecdote about Seaview.
When I got stung on my knuckle, and then I got stung on the webbing of my thumb, and then the director at the time said, you'll be all right.
I just remember being on stage one time and a bee flew down my dress.
There was one that flew into my hair, like mid-scene in rehearsal, and I was like, please no, please, please, please.
I mean, a few times I had some bees hitting off my cheek, flying on my hair.
I like opened the front door and it was dark out. And I just looked around. I can't move because I'm surrounded by fucking deer. Like they're just crowded in the entrance and like they're all staring at me. It was most scared I've ever been doing a show.
My foot went through the pallet and got stuck. I couldn't get my foot unstuck. So I had to take my shoe off to get my foot out of it. I haven't fallen through many floors in a theater.
We were doing a show, I believe it was The Grapes of Wrath. And a woman, just for no apparent reason, got up from her seat in the middle of a scene, walked across the stage, and she waved at someone in the show. It was the weirdest thing. And then she left. I think she was probably using the ladies' room. And then she came right back on, took her seat as if she was the only person in the world. There was nothing going on.
Osric goes to do the dueling scene at the end, and he comes on stage with this panicked look on his face. He can't find the swords. So several of us just sort of like quietly walked off stage and ran around backstage looking for the swords. And in the meanwhile, the actors pantomimed the duel. Halfway through the duel, the actor who played Claudius ad-libs, "Enough of this nonsense, bring out the foils." One of my favorite bad ad-libs, and the actor who played Laertes had to be pulled away from killing him backstage afterwards.
We were making our entrance, which was in pitch black, and I said to my fellow actors, is it me or are there two green eyes glowing in the dark staring at us? And they're like, where? And I pointed, and like, oh my God, it's green eyes staring at us. Turns out, when the lights were on, the show was over, we went back there, it was a giant moth.
Drooling Man, who was in Men for All Seasons. The director desperately needed somebody in a religious garb. And I think he literally found him at the train station and dragged him over. And he drooled on stage a lot. So we called him Drooling Man because we never knew his name. He would never talk. So yeah, so he was Drooling Guy.
We were striking the set for Desire Under the Elms. And then a few minutes later, Katharine Hepburn walked in the front door and said, "My, what a lovely little theater you have here." She was filming like one of her last movies called Grace Quigley, and I ended up spending the entire afternoon with Katharine Hepburn and Nick Nolte, who were the two stars.
And there was also Bloody Guy, who I also don't know his name. He had to leave because he kept bleeding all the time.
I mean, there's always the running joke about Stars and Stripes soda being the official beverage of Seaview Playwrights Theater.
Anytime I see a bottle of Stars and Stripes cola, that's so Seaview. Anytime I hear anybody say anything about a spricket, I pretty much run the other way.
Then there's the Sprickets.
What the fuck is a spricket?
I'd never heard of this creature before. It looked like something out of The Thing, you know, the John Carpenter, because it didn't look like a spider quite, and it didn't look like a cricket. It looked like the most ghastly combination of both. And as I'm looking at it, it's walking towards me, it stops, and it leaps right into my face. And I was like, oh my God, like, it was the most terrifying thing. I thought, is it like something out of Alien? It's going to like attach itself to me?
I see a spricket out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh God damn it, I gotta get up there. And I went to lean right on my chest.
I thought it was like hair. Like it looked like just like a ball of hair. And then it moved and I ran out of there like there was an axe murderer in the room with me. I was like, oh, no.
I forgot something and I came back in and it was dark and there was like two sprickets and they were jumping because they jump really high and I didn't even get what I went back for. I just left.
I mean, it's always been that. I mean, they had bats years ago. I don't have many. I think they all died.
One show that we did, a rat actually came up on the stage as we opened up the trapdoor.
There were cats coming in right during the show. The cat walks in, is looking around.
I had an encounter with a skunk, but not inside the building. And I had never seen one in the wild in my life. And I've been hiking upstate and in Pennsylvania, and I've never seen one until I was there.
At the helm of all of this madness is a man whose being reflects the theater in every way possible, a man who cares deeply for Seaview and for art in general, Joe Giraldi. Joe is legitimately one of the most interesting men I've ever met. He is a director through and through, and a damn good one at that. In the same way the building may rub some people the wrong way, Joe also has that effect. He can be a little rough around the edges, a little hard to approach. But Joe is a caring and compassionate man who seems to almost instinctively take on a paternal role with everyone who walks in his little theater, even though he may not show it, especially when he's directing.
I'm the director. I'm not the mocking. I'm just getting ideas, okay?
Like this, please.
There are no real villains in Tennessee Williams.
We need some kind of order. Otherwise, the world goes nuts. Must justify the deeds of the character, what the character does. Sniff it, for Christ's sake. Now you wait for her response.
That's finding the right action.
Go for your jacket, okay? While your boss is talking, go for your jacket.
Joe Giraldi.
That is the king of acting techniques.
He's like an uncle to me. He's like Doc Emmett Brown from Back to the Future, I feel like.
Passionate, energetic, nuts.
He's a miracle. He's a miracle. I mean, he has survived when other theater companies have come and gone.
He's like he's conducting an orchestra, you know, when he's talking. His hands move and and the conversation whirls around into all these different observations.
He doesn't care. Nothing bothers him. He wears 3 of the same flannel at once.
You can't really talk about silent theater without Joe.
I absolutely love him. And people that have a hard time with him need to just get over it, big time.
He's a friend, he's artistic, he's got a vision, and I don't always agree. That's okay, that's fine. But he has a vision, and he knew what he was doing with this theater.
Anytime anybody says anything about that man, if it's not positive, I want to punch them. People would just give him a chance and try what he's asking them to do without any opposition. They'd probably discover a hell of a lot about themselves, because I know I did.
It's so easy to go up there and just be like, I'm sad. Like, and he'll be the first person to go, no, you don't look sad, you look big.
He's taught me so much, and he's given me so many opportunities.
I'm not going to tell tales out of the rehearsals. I've seen some things happen. But he's a very passionate person, so when he feels something deeply, it comes out. And I think that's great.
My favorite story with Joe was when we were doing Iceman Cometh. The theater was like 125 degrees. This is before we even had air conditioning. And at one point, he just decides to take off his shirt and his t-shirt, and he's just walking around in his bare chest, and he's just kind of hustling around like this and doing his thing, and he's just jumping up and trying to direct the show, but all you can focus on is Joe's hairy chest and his stomach. It was the greatest thing. Like, you just can't miss it.
When he's in the middle of directing and he just starts like screaming, "It's gotta be alive! It's gotta be alive!"
It's gotta be alive! All right, so just take it back a couple lines.
I was very fond of Cat Hudson Roof. I loved the play. I loved the part. We had a great cast. But Joe, part of what makes Joe magical is that what he cares about is the text. But there are times that it drives me nuts because he really doesn't care about the reality of it. Jason was playing Rick, the guy with the crutch in the cast. He would go into the bathroom on the set. And Joe would have him then go from the bathroom and then appear in the front door or in the side door, or, come in from the other side of the porch. It was driving me crazy because it's like the audience is going to note, like, he walked into the bathroom and all of a sudden he's coming in from over there. He said, well, maybe there's other doors. I said, there may be other doors, but it's not a TARDIS. He's not being teleported to other parts of the theater.
We were doing one of the versions of The Iceman Cometh, which is probably Joe's favorite play. He's done it several times. And we had an old man actor named Clyde Kaufman who played Harry Hope, and he kept going up on his lines. He kept missing his cues, and Joe was going crazy. Steam was coming out of Joe's ears. Another actor messed up, And Joe just jumped up and yelling, "God damn it, Clyde, will you come in with your lines?" And it wasn't Clyde's mistake. And Clyde lost it. He jumped up and he said, "It's not my line, you stupid motherfucker, mother." Went nuts. And Joe just stood there and said, "Good, Clyde, good, that's it." Well, that's not the line. He was so happy to see some passion and energy coming out of this old man. They didn't realize the guy was cursing him out.
When I did Othello, I played Rodrigo, and I get stabbed and die, and I fall to the ground. And Joe made me fall no less than 25 times. There was one time where I didn't even fall. I just tried to crumple slowly, and he was like, "Frank, you didn't fall." I was literally bleeding. It's like, "Okay, Joe, I got you."
We're out standing outside by those big ceramic flower pots, and it's the last Sunday of the run, the last show. And all of a sudden, come barreling around from the side of the theater is Joe Giraldi with a big hunk of wood or furniture from Act 1, and he's on his way to the dumpster. And he's like, "Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful?" And after today, it just lives in the ether. And off he goes to throw out a set piece.
Joe would love dragging it out back and chopping it up, leaving it to the animals to take over. Can't use that couch again. There are raccoons living in the cushions.
You could be thinking you're doing something magnificent, right? You're prepared and you come to rehearsal and he was like, James, that was wonderful. Now do it again, but take 95% out.
That's great. Take 99% out of it. It's great. You're doing great.
Try and keep actors happy. Very important rule.
One of my main goals with this project was to interview Joe Giraldi, a task which I knew was borderline impossible. Joe is an incredibly private man. He hates pictures taken of him. He refuses to allow any of his shows to be filmed or photographed. He's very uncomfortable and shy in the spotlight.
Do I personally think that Joe would agree to an interview? I really hope so. I think that'd be awesome. I don't know that he would.
I don't know if he would be comfortable doing something like this, although I think he should.
He absolutely would not agree. I could tell you that for sure. 100% he wouldn't.
Oh, good luck.
Good luck.
Stay.
Right in that seat over there. Okay. This will take 10 minutes tops.
It's not the time, it's just
Okay.
I'm Joe Giraldi, and I'm the artistic director of Seaview Playwrights Theater.
Miraculously, I got him to agree to talk to me for probably what I assume is the only interview that Joe has ever given in his life. This gave me the opportunity to get into the mind of this eclectic theater director.
We started approximately 35 years ago, and we were working behind a bar. We worked in some churches, about 4 different churches, and then luckily we were able to come into Seaview, and we've been in Seaview ever since.
Joe told me his favorite personal story from Seaview, where one of the actors was late and he arrived just seconds before his character was supposed to walk on stage for the first time.
We were working a long time ago on The Iceman Cometh, and we started the play, and he was still not there, and it was time for his entrance, and we had someone ready to just come on with the book, and just at the very, very moment, not a second too soon, his line was on, the fellow was supposed to go, and we pulled the fellow back, and he came on. And that was going back easy 20 years ago.
I asked him how he felt about the state of the theater and why he never renovated it, and this was his response.
Like the years have changed our face, our body, we weigh more, we weigh less, and we accept what we are and what we have achieved. This is what we are. This is what we have achieved. It's no more or no less. we could put different type of seats and things like that. But here again, I think it would take away from the atmosphere of the play. Just trying to know who we are, what we are, why we're here, what we're headed towards, what we're trying to do, is what it's about.
I asked Joe what Seaview personally meant to him.
I can express it with, I think, articulate it better if I take a line, if I may, from Clifford Odets, Golden Boy, the boxer who was torn between materialism and playing the violin. And he tries to express what happens to him when he is with the violin. He says to her, "I'm never alone when I'm alone with music." And that's about expresses how I feel here.
To be honest, I started this project as a way to take cheap pot shots at an old dilapidated theater. But what I discovered while putting it together was how much love and responsibility people really feel towards it.
Without Seaview, I would not be the actor that I am today. Without Joe, I would not be the artist that I am today.
It was the first place somebody said, hey, come here and do what you want and create and be you. And it was okay to do it. I didn't feel like I had to be somebody else. I could be myself. And I feel like that's what's great about Seaview is that it accepts everyone for who they are.
If you had a clubhouse when you were like 7 or 8, and it could look like nothing, and it could be falling apart, but if it's a place where you could hang out with your friends and kind of live a life apart from the rest of the world, you're going to keep going to that little fort or that little playhouse or whatever it is, because it's yours.
Even though it's a disaster, you feel comfortable there in a very strange way.
Despite the state of the theater, I do think that we put on quality shows and people know that.
I love the theater so much, and all of us do. That's why we do it. That's why we do it for free. We don't do it because we want to get paid for it.
It says a lot that we're clearly not doing it for the worldwide recognition. We're just doing it because we like putting shows on.
And it is fun. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it.
There's just something about it that makes me feel like this is where art happens.
It feels like home.
In some ways, that's what theater is. There's this song in the Broadway show Applause. There's a song called Welcome to the Theater. In that song, she says, welcome to the dark hallways, and welcome to the broken toilets and the friendly roaches. And behind the facade, it's never glamorous, really. It's just it could be cleaner, yes, and it could be more updated. But I think that people go there because you can do your work.
It might not be the cleanest, it may be past the point of no repair, it may be strictly inhabited by creepy crawlers, it might be smelly, and personally, I don't think a lot of it is acceptable. I think it can be fixed. But people clearly have a huge adoration for Seaview. They sell out shows every weekend, actors flock the place whenever there are auditions for the next show, people want to be here.
I've done the diamond rolls here. I've done the diamond rolls, and I'm so grateful. I've had a chance to spread my wings and be some of the brilliant ladies in the theater. Roles, where else would I be able to do that? I'm gonna cry. It's like, this is your life.
I hope it will always thrive. I hope it will always exist. I think it will. There's a great line from Shakespeare's Tempest. The past is prologue to the future. I hope that is our epitaph.